and Stu on the mic, broadcasting through the night, talking F1, getting every fact kind of right. From the grid to the finish, they're all in. Top Step Podcast, let the race begin.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Top Step Podcast, where we get facts almost right. If you are new to the show, welcome. I am Stu, and I am with my main man,
Rhyss Ashmore. How you going?
We are back. It's been a couple of weeks since the Horner Files, since that show, and we still, as everyone knows, we work really, really hard, and we've got lots of stuff going on outside, and Rhyss has done himself a Keefy George and has done himself a mischief while he's been on holidays from work as well. So there's been lots of stuff going on.
I was trying the Bradbury, but I got the reverse Bradbury where I was the only one that fell over.
After everyone else had finished, though.
Yeah.
And so we still actually have the post-Silverstone show. So I'm just going to post that up. We'll put that one up there because, of course, we were interrupted rudely by Helmut Marko and his decision and the Red Bull decision to get rid of Christian Horner and all that sort of stuff. So I'll pop that one up. It's just been too busy to get it done, but we'll get that one through. And
it'll be in the socials. Have a look.
Yeah, in the socials. Absolutely. It'll be in the socials. So we'll get that one up, but we've come alive again because this week, one of the best racetracks in the world hosts the best racing series, or one of the best racing series in the world, like all car racing, but host Formula One. And of course, we're talking about Spa. What a track.
What a track. Just
Favorite corner?
Eau Rouge, just as a whole, has to be my favorite section.
Yeah, it is good. It is good. As we duly dub it, Cow Corner, before you head down to Rodillion. I mean, there's and the thing about Spa is that corners from it have attempted to have been replicated across the world. The Bend has a segment of Spa included in it with the left, right, left, sort of towards before you get onto the back straight.
Technical terms,
left, right, left. Yep. Yeah. If you're not watching and you're listening, I was ducking my head to left and the right, to left and the right. So, you know, obviously an absolutely world famous track, and great that we are back there again with Formula One. And particularly so recently as well, after having the 24 hours there with the GT cars, which is one of my favourite races of the year. So excited for this weekend. Of course, last year was let's burn George after he wins a race on one set of tyres by disqualifying his car.
Disqualifying him for underweight.
Technical error, I think they called it. But Lewis Hamilton then got the win, and Oscar Piastri got second with
Charles Leclerc
in third. So I don't think we'll see a repeat of that kind of result this year, but we'll get to our predictions as usual throughout the show. But I'll take a breath. There's been a lot happen still.
Just, I'm feeling a little bit parched, so I'm just going to
absolutely. Let's get it started the right way.
One of this.
For those of you listening, can of Monster. It's a
bit of Monster ASMR.
Late at night, great idea. Let's have a can of energy drink before bed. Precisely what my 42-year-old body needs. But obviously not of the same magnitude of outcome as Christian Horner getting sacked and half the team leaving and promotions and whatever. So but we've got a little run sheet of what's been happening over the last 2 weeks. There were, the world is a funny place. It's a real funny place right now. Long gone are the days of just media speculation. You've got people tracking private planes. I mean, talk about invasion of privacy, but add on top of that, what is going on in your life that you're sitting there waiting for Max Verstappen's plane to take off? Like, honey, he's taking off.
I do have to make a guilty.
Oh no!
So my partner is very heavily into the plane app, just in general. When nothing big's going on, we'll be out camping somewhere and doing stuff, and the plane will go past, and she'll look where it's coming from and where it's going.
Oh no, that's different.
So having access to the app and seeing everything happening on social media, that was quickly jumped onto, and it actually tells you on the app how many people are tracking both planes. And there were thousands of people tracking them at once.
So hang on. So did you get onto this live?
I did get onto this live.
What? You you know a bloke? Where was the message?
It was on her phone. She was sitting around. She goes, there's all these people tracking this flight. And then within 3 seconds, the app was loaded because she's a frequent flyer on the app, and straight onto it. So it was pretty crazy.
I kind of get it from a plane spotting or train spotting attitude when you're out camping, because I sit there and wait for the satellites to go by. And just watch the satellites go past. So I kind of get it from a camping perspective. It gives you that, that little thing that you need to just keep you going while you're camping.
Yeah, and it's also like the quick, because someone will be sitting there go, I wonder where that plane's coming from.
And you're like, that's the 840 from Tullamarine to whatever, and it's running late.
That is exactly how it goes. So,
but that's not sitting there watching somebody's plane, because there's millions and millions of people who've jumped on this and had a look at it, but there was one who discovered it first.
Yes.
And they had to be sitting there watching, or maybe you can track it on the app, but I'm just come on.
Yep.
But, of course, we talk about the holidaying of Max, or the arrival of Max and Toto at a similar or the same location, and fueling the talks, of course, that Max is on his way to Mercedes. What we called a clear out. We called GT program allegiance as one of the reasons for him potentially moving on to, we thought maybe more likely Aston Martin with a big checkbook. And we have spoken at length, of course, about the Toto Max dynamic. Have you had anything further on this? How are you feeling about it? Do you feel sorry for George? We actually called it. We called it.
We
again. Did. We said George will be out of a seat next year.
We did. And it's so we're going to be sitting here and saying all these things, and then next year is going to turn around and Max will still be racing for Red Bull and it'll all be irrelevant. But in the more entertaining narrative, I think it'll be George out, Max in with Antonelli. There's been a few rumours kicking about around Antonelli getting loaned out to Alpine.
Crazy.
And I can't. Toto, at the end of the day, Toto is a businessman, and Toto is a very successful businessman in that aspect in terms of selecting drivers and running the team and things like that. So as a businessman point of view, lending him out to learn another team's dynamic, to then reintroduce him to the dynamic at Mercedes 2 years later with a different car, it doesn't make sense. You would keep him with the same team, keep him with the same mechanics, and grow him, because he's taken this big risk on him, brought him forward. You wouldn't bench him now after this season.
Particularly not just lend him out to a team with the culture of Alpine. Yeah. I mean, what's he going to do? Go to a couple of bunga parties with Flavio, and when Christian rocks up, like, hand over all the Mercedes secrets? I doubt it.
I was literally just about to say, talking about what we were saying in terms of Horner buying Alpine, it makes absolutely zero sense that Toto would even risk that if that anything was in that sort of water being true. But so unfortunately, I think George would be without a seat, which is, in my eyes, very unfortunate for George. I feel like this is a Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton sort of scenario where pretty much to anyone else on the grid, Sainz was pretty secure in that seat. But when you have the opportunity to get, 7-time world champion into your seat, you're going to do it. And I think that's where George has found himself. So whilst I don't, ideally like George as a driver, I do think it's pretty rough, because I think he's doing everything he can do in the seat that he's in, performing as well as he can do in that position, and sort of picking up the points. He's putting himself in the position to pick up the points when he can. So super unfortunate that I do think that he'll go, and it'll be Max and Antonelli.
Yeah, and I think the run could be too late for Cadillac, because I think that Sergio probably is a good bet.
I don't think George has the image for Cadillac. I know that sounds strange, but with what we've heard from Cadillac and what they want from their driver, I don't think George has that image that they're chasing.
I don't know. Have you seen him in those Ineos Grenadier ads where he's piling through nature in what looks like a Great Wall?
Yeah, but it doesn't fit though, does it?
No, not really. And
No.
when they recorded that, Kimi wouldn't have had his driver's license. Well, so anyway, that logic goes out the window when there's ads. But
Closed circuit, obviously.
there's a lot of not a lot, but there's some momentum getting behind my man Jack Doohan potentially going to Cadillac. He's now in the wings, from what I understand, of at least having a conversation with Cadillac about running with them, probably as the second driver. I think I'm going to call it early, but I think Sergio is probably a shoo-in. I can't see them not picking him up. I think it would be stupid not to pick him up. Mexican fan base, like money, all that stuff.
Anyone watching Sergio this year, last year, and watching the car this year, they know that it wasn't Sergio.
No, absolutely not.
They know that he can perform. They know what he can do. He's a multiple race winner. Regular on the podium. So they know that he knows how to do that. And then the proof in the car, the sort of argument that it was him and not the car is completely gone. So if you're sitting there and you could get someone like Sergio that comes with probably more backing than any other driver, the amount of money that he has from sponsorships for the teams and things like that, at his sort of rating, at his level, it'd be silly not to.
The only thing going for George is feedback in car development.
Whinging?
Well, yeah, but I mean, he brings with him, again, we go back to the cropping. He comes out of the Toto crop. So he understands what type of feedback they need to make that car quicker, and how he's worked obviously with Lewis, understands how Lewis provides feedback. I mean, they're things that you're not going to get from Jack.
But you could say the same for Sergio in terms of, feedback from the Red Bull car and how dominant that was for however many years.
Boys, this car is shit.
But he knew, but when he came back though, and he said this is where the car was broken, it's come out that from when Sergio said that was when the car sort of was going downhill. So he sort of knew that. He knows how Max operates. And so I feel like in terms of the experience, it's probably quite similar. And Sergio's obviously a more senior driver than he is, but it's quite similar in terms of that feedback and information that they'll give back.
Yeah, true. I mean, again, it's going to be the unwinding story. If we went right back to episode 1, we said, well, silly seasons, it's ages away, and we haven't not spoken about it on an episode yet. If I was to make an early call, it'd be Sergio, and I hope Jack gets a fair run. So I'm hoping he gets it, just because I think he got a bum steer, obviously, at Alpine. So
do you think that might change if Horner ended up at Alpine, that he might get back in there?
That's a really good question, and it leads really well into the next bit. So we'll mould them together. If Horner and Bernie Ecclestone join forces, which is the rumor getting around, to buy Alpine, I really struggle still to see Jack getting back in there, because he's going to get Gasly, and how long that lasts, given that Gasly has driven for him and been fired by him before. I don't know how much you can change a team in such a short period of time, remembering that he's still on gardening leave pretty much until the end of the season. And I think he probably would be allowed to buy a team, but obviously not be involved in it whatsoever until, settlement would have to be the end of that period. And he's still negotiating his settlement from Red Bull as well. So do I think Jack would get a look in? Maybe. I mean, he would be on the list because he's got race experience already. Whatever experience that is, he still has that race experience. I think, though, that Christian would try and steal young Red Bull drivers. So you might park a couple of guys in the cars for a year or two, but then I think he might go and say, hey, Isaac, come over and had Jack come and drive for us. We'll pay you a poultice of money because you're a good driver. That type of thing, I think, would probably be a better strategy for them than sticking Jack in the car and hoping.
Is that after Hadjar's been put in the second Red Bull seat, burnt out?
I think that has a lot of legs to it, because the car next year for Red Bull is going to be totally different. It's not going to happen this season. They're talking about us putting a 17-year-old in there, and Yuki's gonna get the turf. They're saying his Contract will be gone next season. You mentioned before he's only there for the Honda money. The Honda money's gone next season when they go to the Ford Power Unit. So I don't see Tsunoda being in Formula One next year at all.
Oof, that's a big call.
Why would anyone want him? What does Yuki bring?
No, I completely understand, but it still breaks my brain when drivers like Yuki are potentially going and drivers like Stroll are still on the.
I was about to say, I mean, it's illogical when you think about some of the drivers that are going to remain on the track. But equally, if George hasn't got a seat and Yuki has, somebody's sniffing the wrong can.
No, absolutely, and we've got a few out of contractors. So yeah, you are correct with the pickings. It's kind of like last year when Carlos Sainz was available.
Yeah,
no one else was really going to get a look in over Sainz.
And I did float one alternative strategy to you as well, which was that maybe Daddy Stroll will buy Veruca Stroll his own race team and
Buy
Alpine as a development team for. In the same way you've got Red Bull and Racing Bulls being totally disconnected racing teams, do the same thing with Alpine for Aston Martin, and then maybe put Veruca down in the B team, and then pull George across to the A team if they don't get Max.
Imagine George and Fernando racing for a year in Aston Martin in a newly built car.
Do you know what I think of is something like a relationship of maybe, I don't know, Sir Anthony Hopkins and like a young teenager, like this polished gentleman of the sport, and then George, and him like teaching him how to speak to ladies and all that goes with being James Bond, all that type of thing, and then George coming in as this wet behind the ears kid who thinks he knows it all. It could work, but I mean,
you've already planned their 2025 F1 entrance. For the live show. That's what they'll do now. Because they had a James Bond theme this year. They'll double down on it next year.
Well, they said they're not doing that anymore. They're not going to do another unilateral grand opening where nobody actually reveals the car. So
is that because it turned into 3 hours of non-Formula One related stuff?
Yeah, and they're just going to have what's his name making bad jokes all the time about being in the presence of Sir Lewis Hamilton. But I mean, we do digress. But that was another sort of weird theory that we threw out there. It could be that absolutely nothing happens. But if history
will be the same,
if history tells us, we do tend to get a couple of things right.
It's happened, 9 or 10 times. It's all good.
So that's that sort of catches us up on where we're at. Just to do things a little bit differently as well. If you are listening to the show, if you have made it this far in, then you're definitely one of our kind of people. So just make sure that you drop a like or a subscribe wherever it is that you're listening or watching the show, just to help us move things along. We were doing our planning session a little bit earlier. We're going to try and actually do a same room show during the summer break. Formula One
Formula One friend.
That's a great podcast to get onto if you're looking for one. The Buckleys, poof. And the other thing is that we are also still trying to gun to have a live show for the final show of the year. So if you can help us achieve that by getting us into those live number spots, that would be absolutely fantastic.
You'll find all our links in the description below.
Absolutely. And if you don't, that's because I have not done my job properly. Kind of like not clicking record on a podcast that you're recording and then
never happened.
Redo the whole thing. So speaking of that, we're getting better at these segues. Spa and then Hungaroring.
Are you hungry?
Over the next 2 weeks. I'm not. I just had the most delicious lamb pasta that my wife makes, and it is. I'm not a big fan of lamb, but it is delicious. Slow cooker all day, and then just add in some paradise. Yum. Anyway,
I thought you were going to say lasagna, and I was going to get really mad, and then you just made it worse.
Not for
you
the
just made
third time in 3 weeks.
Slow cooked lamb. Oh wow.
It was delicious. Anyway, it's Spa, and then we've got the Hungaroring, and then we are off for the midsummer break.
Crazy season.
So I thought, obviously, pre-Spa show, our pre-shows are generally a little bit shorter, but we did touch on it a little bit last time around. Of course, this year we've got a sprint race followed by the main race, so the setup's a little bit different. And we had some weather, which we'll get into. I noticed our weatherman's in the queue to come in and have a little chat. But Lewis obviously inheriting the win there. We touched on Oscar and Charles. There was the DQ. And also I forgot that Max actually qualified on pole, but then had to change his power unit and got a 10-place grid penalty.
He then came back into fourth.
Yeah, he
which
did.
was a very, very good effort with Lando in fifth. So
it was a bit of a mixed bag. But because of that, there was a little bit of rain and stuff as well, which impacted some of the setup time for the cars. But this weekend we go into sprint race and the third race of the Sprint Cup. And then we obviously have the main race on Sunday. So we might quickly jump into, we'll get him out of the way because he's probably getting antsy. We'll jump into the weather.
It's in the recording studio.
And then we'll come back and have a little bit of a chat about what we're looking forward to.
Listen, touchdown, motherfuckers!
Good evening, race fans. George Jollington here for the Top Step weather forecast for the legendary.
It's
was
disappeared.
He was there.
We've lost him.
Oh,
Let's try that again.
Listen, touchdown, motherfuckers!
Good evening, race fans. George Jollington here for the Top Step weather forecast for the legendary Circuit de Spa. And let me tell you, it's going to be peak Spa drama. As you can see here, we've got Friday practice day raining, Saturday sunny and cloudy, Sunday race day raining and cloudy. Now looking at race times, we are looking at 70% chance of rain at the circuit track. So very, very interesting weather to become. We know how slippery Spa can be, especially flat out Upper Rouge. So let's pray for the weather gods to play it nicely. But what does this mean for the race? Well, expect a chilly 14 degrees in the morning, warming up to a mild 20 by the afternoon if the sun decides to show up on time. So pack the ponchos and the sunnies because Mother Nature's putting slicks and intermediates on the same playlist. Buckle up, Spa's about to spa. Back to you in the studio, Rhyss and Stu.
Spa's about to spa. I'd forgotten that the track had been resurfaced last season as well.
which is what made it so slippery.
Yeah, and then add in the weather that it looks like we're going to get, and the sprint race is going to be dry, and then the main race is going to be wet. So
It's going to be all kinds of interesting.
I'm loving what they're doing with the weather. The thing that I'm hoping doesn't happen is that we have a heavily red flag impacted race.
Yeah. Well, it is Spa, so.
It is. And that was one of the good things about Silverstone was that we actually still got racing in the wet. Tyre strategy came into it, and I'm still not totally convinced they've got the tyres right for this year, really. But it is contributing to the racing. So actually, they have got it right, but whether it's right to have the tyres have such an impact on the racing.
Or Pirelli just had like heaps of leftovers and now they're going into regulation changes. They're like, look, this is stuff that kind of works. We just need to get rid of this because next year it's going to change again.
There's some dude out the back painting yellow around the outside of the red tyres just to make sure that they get used. The weather's going to be interesting. Qualifying and obviously DRS is really, really important at Spa with the two long straights. What are your...
So much opportunity for overtake as well at Spa in comparison to where we've sort of had other than Silverstone, but there's so many more opportunities for overtakes and pushing the point even into the bus stop. Like I was watching racing from I think it was 2017 and there was like really, really good overtakes into the bus stop. And you just forget that they can overtake that sort of track width because Spa is so much wider than obviously Silverstone's quite wide as well, but it's even wider than that. So I'm looking forward to a race where there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of battling, defending. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I think you're right, and that we'll see way more passing than we've seen certainly in some of the more recent rounds.
And when you're saying in terms of the importance of DRS as well, this is where the Red Bull will really come into its own. Obviously, Max spends a lot of time at Spa, not just in Formula One, but obviously sim racing, GT cars, like he spends a lot of time there. Mix that with how quick the Red Bull is in DRS, though this might be the circuit for them.
I was going to ask, so obviously we'll get to predictions in a minute, but how do you think Red Bull and Racing Bulls will go with the changes that have obviously happened? They've had a couple of weeks to digest it all and to move into their new chairs and do what they need to do. How do you think it will play out?
Honestly, I don't think we'll see much difference. I think there's so many other people in their roles, cemented in their roles, and so much other sort of fundamentals haven't changed. Like the mechanics in the car, they're getting and speaking to the drivers on pit walls is the only real difference. But he didn't really talk. He doesn't talk during the race, like until the end sort of thing. So I don't think a lot will change this race. I think a lot of it will stay the same because it would have been pre-planning.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if there'll be some sort of rebound effect. When a basketball or Premier League team get a new coach in a team that hasn't won a game for God knows how long.
Gives a bit of a vibe boost.
Yeah, and then they just magically pull it out of the bag, so it makes it look like it was the coach the whole time.
I don't think it's fair to assess that at this. I think the car is suited to this sort of track. So if they do, and I think you're right, but I think it's more so going to be the car has been set up for this sort of racetrack.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess only time will tell. So we'll hop into predictions. I thought we might grab a sprint race win prediction. So we won't go into qualifying for the sprints. We'll do our usual structure there. But what are your thoughts about the sprint race, given that we've seen Lewis win a sprint race this year as well? So, the results haven't been absolutely the same in terms of predictability.
So I was actually tossing up between Russell and Sainz.
Well, we can only have one answer, mate. Come on.
I know. So I'm gonna go Russell, but I was just at two ends of the spectrum.
I'm gonna go George.
Yep.
I'm gonna go because it's gonna be in the dry. I'm gonna keep my craziness for the wet. I'm gonna go with Oscar for a win in the sprint race. Collie. So back to our traditional 3 segments of qualifying ruined by some idiot with a red flag. What are we reminding yourself that Stroll is racing this weekend, as is Pierre Gasly? What are your thoughts?
I think it's your turn this week, isn't it?
Is it?
First predictions? I think it is. I think I had last week.
Well, I'm going to go for Max on pole.
Yep.
I think that's probably a done thing.
I can't go him now.
No, I'd be lying if I didn't say that me going Max wasn't a little bit strategic because whilst we haven't been actually keeping tabs, I think I'm behind.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll go back scaling through the videos now. I thought we had a tally somewhere. No, I have to get this.
It's there, like it's on the spreadsheet.
I have to find this.
But if I said I was updating it every week, I'd be, in terms of keeping the numbers, I'd be lying.
Yeah. I'm going to go Piastri.
Okay, so we got Max and Oscar. And then for the main race, in terms of a winner, I'm going to go for Lewis.
Oh, okay.
Just in some sort of sheer debacle that occurs in the wet. Because if it rains, I'm going to go for Lewis, I think.
Yep, fair enough.
So I don't need a door for you to just go Max.
I'm going Max.
So what are you doing? You need to take some outside bets to see if you can get there. Biggest mover. Do I just put down the Hulk for you? Because he'll qualify 19th and finish 4th.
Absolutely. He was my biggest mover and surprise packet, but it's not a surprise anymore. So biggest mover, I'm just going to lock in the Hulk from forever.
Yep, and I'm going to go with Alonso as biggest mover.
Okay, yeah.
I think he might struggle in qualifying, but get some result in the race. And then surprise packet, which I just noticed I've misspelt, but surprise packet.
Who are you thinking?
I'm going to go with Bortoletto.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I was going to say, is Hamilton winning not big enough surprise packet for you?
Well, not really. I mean, it's Sir Lewis Hamilton because of his achievements in Formula One. So him winning a race is not surprising. But if Bortoletto, and I'm not going to say that Bortoletto is obviously going to win, but I think maybe a top 5 with the way that they've been tracking.
Yep.
I think is realistic.
Yep.
Is it the track for their car? No, they've done better at your more compact, where there isn't. I mean, obviously Silverstone is high paced, but it's also got, well, actually, it's one of the fastest circuits on the thing in terms of average speed. But it just that the race and the rain and all that suited them. If they get a similar race here and it removes some of that high speed requirement of the car, I think they could do all right. So
I'm 100% with you there. I'm actually going to say Lawson for my surprise packet.
Okay, he had a tough Silverstone.
Yeah, and that's sort of where I think something clicked in the car. We saw him get his best result week before Silverstone, and obviously taken out quite early in a racing incident. And watching it back, I've watched it back multiple times, and it's definitely because I was sort of starting to see this pattern with him, that he gets a little bit over aggressive and pokes his nose somewhere where it shouldn't have been. But it wasn't like that at all. It was just 3 abreast. So I'm actually going to go Lawson as my surprise packet because I think something's there and I'm excited to see it, especially at a track like Spa.
It's funny that you say that you've done that because you're actually still right in that most of the time it's him being unconservatively aggressive. And I know that's like you can't have those two things together, but
it's a bit. He just sort of came through the track like the Cartman saying like respect my authority. That just doesn't. He sort of just came through expecting a lot of space sometimes, and I just didn't really.
Well, you've seen those. You've seen those things of the guys video gaming where they say through goes Hamilton and the Formula One car's like flying through the air. It's like that, where where there's only a thought about safety and actually making it after he's already committed the act. But you're right, that wasn't the case at Silverstone. And
seeing better results, not seeing that, I was like, cool. And then I'm going to lock in Lawson.
And the same with Ocon in that respect as well. We, I think that the image of that mechanic shaking his head after they made that team announcement is burned into my brain. And so whenever I see him make a mistake, that guy's face comes up and just him shaking his head on Drive to Survive.
I'm going to need to make a clip of Esteban Ocon's just results for the season, and then just have that mechanic.
Just have that guy
just jump in every now and then because I like feels.
you know those 80s photos that they used to get like as a family picture, and there's the full person standing in the background, and then it's like the close up of their face in the foreground of the picture.
Yeah,
it's video image of him shadow in the background, just crashing the car, and then just that mechanic's face just shaking his head at the front.
Yeah. I've got a week.
Yeah, absolutely. Get it done. Put it on the list.
No, absolutely.
So there are our predictions for Sprint Quali Main, biggest mover and the surprise packet. Obviously, let us know what you think, whether we're idiots or your own movers, shakers, and candlestick makers down in the chat below. So anything else, mate? Anything else grabbed your fancy that you've seen in the motorsport world across the week or in Formula One that missed the important board that we put together before each show?
Unfortunately, don't have the 5 hours to delve into the rabbit holes I've been going down, but we've touched on all of the subjects that they all lead from. So no, I'm all good here, mate. What about yourself?
No, that's it. That's it for me as well. So we'll draw this one to a close. Of course, as you know, our pre-race shows generally tend to be a little bit shorter, and this is one of them. But do look out for our full post-race debrief. If you are new to Formula One as well, and you've somehow stumbled across our show as the place for your information, do yourselves a favour, set the alarm clock early and get up and watch Spa. Even if you just get up and watch the sprint race, because the racing is fantastic. And again, as Rhyss has pointed out to me on a number of occasions, Formula 2 and Formula 3 racing as well is absolutely brilliant to watch. So, grab a can of your favourite whatever and sit down and chuck it on the TV. It is one of the best rounds of the year in Formula 1. So have a look at it. The time's not all that friendly, but you've got a weekend to recover. So that's it from us. We will, as always, appreciate everybody who watches and joins in. So give us a wave, say hello, and, of course, drop a like or follow on those buttons. And we will see you next week for our post-Spa pre-Hungaroring. Yes, I got it. Pre-Hungaroring race talk. in next Tuesday Australian time. So as always, thank you, mate, for
Thank you very much.
jumping on,
See you next
and
week.
we will see you next week. As always, thanks for joining us on The Top Step.
Well, that's a checkered flag. We're at the end of the race. Thanks for tuning in. You kept up the pace. Rhyss and Stu are signing off today, but don't forget to like, subscribe, drop your prediction.